Morning guys and gals, Froggy here in Froggy's Garage. What I'm going to show you today is an oil change and filter change, and we're going to add some Techron to the gas tank to clean the fuel injectors. This is going to be on my 2000 Ford Explorer XLT. It's got 119,000 miles on it, runs great. One of the better cars I've ever owned. My daughter's driving it now, and she loves it. So, here we go. What I did today, just for something different, was I drove the car up on some wooden blocks in the back. Why would I do that? Well, it gives me a little more clearance under the car to slide under there and drain the old oil and put the new filter on. I can actually do it. This car sits up high enough so that I can do it without putting it up on blocks, but it just makes it a little bit easier. It took no time at all. Make sure you set the parking brake and put it in park so it stays up there on those blocks. Shouldn't go anywhere. I may actually put some blocks around the front wheel too, just to be safe. Yeah, there's a couple extra blocks there just to be safe. I'm shooting this upside down now, so the oil pan drain plug is right there. It's got a little blue seal on there. Somebody in the past changed the oil, put a little seal on there, but it's right there. You want to have the engine warm or hot when you drain the oil. Not too hot, it'll be hot oil coming out. And you want to be very careful of these catalytic converters, because they are very hot and they will burn you if you brush up against them. It also looks like I've got a little bit of leakage from the oil pan there. I'm going to make a note of that, and next time I might put an oil pan gasket. It looks like it wouldn't be too hard a job to put an oil pan gasket on there. And I will probably snug up those, see if there's a loose bolt there, and snug up those bolts. So I don't see any huge drippage on the ground, so I think it's just starting to leak a little bit. So I'm going to open that up. It's 13 millimeter, and place your drain pan to catch it underneath it. And here we go. I took the socket after I broke it loose, and I put a long extension on there so that I can take it off without getting hot oil all over my hand. See, I got about a 6-inch extension on there, and I'm just turning it off now. It will actually splash towards my hand a little bit, but I don't think it'll be too bad. And I'm just going to let that plug drop right into the pan, and then I'll fish it out later on. Don't try to catch it. I'm holding back against it so that it's not flowing too bad until I feel like it's ready to come out. Then I'm just going to quickly take my hand out of there and drop it. Here we go. There it is. Pretty good. I only got a little bit of oil on my hand. It's all going in the pan. Nice shot, Froggy. And on the top end of the engine, I took the oil dipstick and I pulled it back a couple inches so that it lets air into the system on the other side. You don't really need to do that, but you could do that, and it'll just help the oil come out faster. And look at that. It's pouring, and it's dark. It's got about 6,000 miles on it. Not a lot of stop and go, mostly like a 12-mile commute. So I'm putting in Pennzoil, kind of standard 530 Pennzoil. It's good oil. This car doesn't need a synthetic. It's never had a synthetic, and I've always been very good about the oil changes. So the engine runs great. We just let this, I'm moving the pan a little bit to catch the drips. And up here, let me get my flashlight. Right there's the oil filter. You see I wrote on it 3 of 12. Right now it is 8 of 12, so that's the last time I changed it. I like to keep track of when it was done last. About 6,000 miles, as I said. I had to get it loose with my hand. The little tool that I had, that tool there. Because this FRAM filter has a rubbery coating on the bottom of it, I wasn't getting a good bite with the tool. But the rubbery coating gave me a good non-slip surface to grab it with a rag and twist it, so it's loose now. I'm going to take that and unscrew it all the way. I'm going to move my pan so that it'll fall or it'll drip into the pan. So this is a little messy job here too. I'm going to need 2 hands. Okay, the worst is over. That's where your oil filter is going to screw onto, right there. And you want to make sure that the gasket doesn't get stuck up. The old gasket doesn't get stuck up there. Everybody warns you about double gasket. Actually, I've never seen a gasket get stuck up there, but just check it anyway. And that's the last of the drips out of the oil pan. I'm going to drag the bucket out, and then I'm going to fish out the oil filter and the plug, and then I'm going to I think I put a piece of newspaper under there to catch the little bit of drip that's happening. I'm going to try and snug up on those bolts, as I already told you. Make a note to replace that gasket next time. Looks like I won't. That'll be easy, I think. And then the worst is sort of over. We're now going to get ready to put the new filter up there, put the plug back in, make sure the plug looks like it's got a good seal on it. If it needs some kind of O-ring or something, I'm going to take a look at that. And then we'll just do the rest from the top. Here's a new filter. It's Pure 1. It's the best of the Purelator filters. I like that. The FRAM I'm taking off is one of the higher grade FRAMs. I don't like the cheap FRAMs, but I like the higher grade ones. I'll show you that when I take it off. You want to take some old oil and spread it on this gasket so that when it goes up there it spins nice and easy. And when this goes up, you want to turn it in some directions here. You spin it up until it makes contact, and then you go about 3/4 of a turn more. It's really hand tight, but it's a good strong hand tight, not a weak hand tight. And that's all. Or you can use that special tool that I showed you, but still, just 3/4 of a turn's all you do. Here's the one I used last time. It's called FRAM Tough Guard. It's a higher quality FRAM. Just don't buy these cheap oil filters that are like $2, $2.50. Your motor deserves better than that. Just letting this drip out, and then I'm going to place it in the old box and dispose of it properly. And then I got to fish out. I'm going to take a magnet and I'm going to fish out that the plug. Okay, let's go fishing. Hey, I caught one. Alright, put that up there, wipe it off, and check it to make sure it's good. Well, let's do that right now. That's got a rubber. It's got a rubber O-ring that is. Looks like it's kind of sealed on there. Whoop, sorry, got out of frame. A rubber O-ring, and it was not leaking when I took it off. I think I'm going to reuse it. If you ever see one that is leaking as you take it off, well then go and get a new one of these. They're $2 or $3 at your auto parts store. Okay? I snugged up on those. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 lower ones. I snugged up on them. None of them were really loose. I think the gasket has just been through 119,000 miles of heat cycles, and it just says I've done enough. Replace me. So I'll do a video of that next time I do an oil change. I'll replace that gasket. So we're all done here. At the end, after we fill it up and run it, we're going to look one more time to make sure there's no drips, but everything else is from the top. Here's where we're putting the new oil in, and I'm going to get a little funnel just so I don't have to be so careful hitting the hole there when I put the new ones in. This engine takes 5 quarts, so I'm going to put 5 quarts in, and then I'm going to check it with a dipstick. And as I already said, I'm going to run it and make sure there's no leaks. There we go with number 1. And I'm not going to show you all 5 of these. I'm just telling you I'm putting 5 in. A nice big funnel there. So I'm not going to splash any oil on the engine. If I did, then I'd be smelling that oil burning off. That's fast. I'm going to let that drip a little bit. And I'll see you back when I've got all 5 in. While I'm waiting for the new oil to go into the motor, I take my old oil and I'll put it into some big containers. I try not to put it back into these little bitty containers, but that'll hold 4 quarts, and let my pan drain out. And I had like 4.5 quarts total, and so I put a little bit in this one here. So that's just a little multitasking you can do. Multitasking. We're all done here. And one thing I'll tell you about, there are some guys that swear by filling up the new oil filter before you spin it up onto the block of the motor. And that way, when you first crank the car after an oil change, the oil pump doesn't have to fill up the oil filter before it starts pumping oil to the rest of the engine. Well, I never bothered to do that. You could do that. It's one little extra step. Does it make a difference? Yeah, like a infinitesimal difference, I guess. If I had a very expensive motor, a Ferrari, or maybe a Porsche, or a built motor, like a custom built motor, then I'd probably go to the trouble of doing that. But or a brand new motor, certainly, where it's never had oil pushed through the motor. But a car that's been running daily, you know, I don't bother doing that. But I just thought I'd throw it out there so you guys have heard of it. Here's something Froggy uses. It's called Fuel Injector Cleaner. It's under the Chevron label, and it contains an additive called Techron. There are a lot of additives sold for all different parts of your car. Most of them I call them snake oil. This one is the real deal. It does work. It cleans your fuel injectors. Fuel injectors are very important for the performance of your engine and also your emissions. So every time I do an oil change, I'll put one of these in the tank. It treats one tank full. They have some different sizes. You just open it up and you aim it and bang, shove it in there. Hear it glug, glug, glugging in there. This car right now has approximately 15 gallons of gas in it, maybe 12 gallons of gas, so that's just about right for the dilution. And the fuel pump pumps it right up to your injectors, and it's a chemical cleaner basically. The injectors have incredibly tiny little pinholes where they squirt. The gas is squirted and atomized into the engine, into the intake manifold, the fuel rail, to the injector, to the intake manifold, and then into the engine. So it costs you like $5 or $7 for one of those every oil change. You can use it, I think, up to like every 3,000 miles, but I do it about every 6,000 miles, which is my usual oil change interval on this vehicle. So, there you have it. I think we're done draining here. Yeah. We do have to start it up and check for leaks, and then we're going to use the There. Use the dipstick to check the oil level. Let's start it up. Okay, here we go. Starting up. We want to watch your oil pressure gauge if you have one to make sure you get oil pressure. Looking for that needle. There she goes. So we've got oil pressure. Now we're going to look underneath and see if we got any leaks. I bet we don't. Okay, no leaks. Make sure you gather up all your tools, get them out of there, and then we have to put the car back on the level to use the dipstick to check the oil level. You can't do that on the angle. It's hard to see, but it's about halfway between the two holes, which is just right. I might add a little bit more. Well, I'm going to let the engine sit a little bit, and I'll check it one more time. I won't shoot that on the video, but if it's still halfway in between, then I will add another half a quart. I bought an extra quart of oil. It was a special with 5 quarts plus a filter, plus I bought one extra quart because I know, in between oil changes you're going to be adding a little bit of oil. That's normal. Okay, half a quart, maybe even a couple of quarts, depending on the length of the oil change, the number of miles you go in between oil changes. So we're looking good. We've got no leaks. Froggy's going to wrap this up then. If this was helpful, give me a thumbs up. You want to see more from Froggy? Subscribe to my channel. Froggy out.